Despite the slow economic recovery in Massachusetts, many employers say workers with the right skills are hard to find. That was the response from 2/3 of the employers in a recent survey for the Mass Business Alliance for Education. They said the state schools fail to prepare enough graduates for college or the workplace, and is concerned the improvement in student performance might be slowing down. To tell us about the survey is our guest from the Alliance, the Executive Director, Linda Noonan. Thank you very much for being with us, Linda.
Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Well, this is a state where we're patting ourselves on the back every so often. We're the greatest state in the country for public schools. We have all these knowledge jobs. So, I mean, how could things be as wrong as this now?
Well, we are doing well. We're the top scoring state in the nation on the National Assessment of Education Progress, and have been. But if you look at those scores over time, they've flattened out, and we still have very sizable achievement gaps. So we did this poll to find out what was on employers' mind, and found, as you said, that 69% of them are having difficulty finding jobs despite the number of people who are looking for jobs. So there's a disconnect between what we're teaching kids and what they're expected to know and be able to do.
Now, are these jobs just the very top of the skill level, or the cutting edge of the creative class? Are we talking maybe some of these middle skill jobs as well, maybe?
We're talking across the board: service, retail, manufacturing. We surveyed members of 15 business organizations across the state because we wanted to hear from employers who were at least civically engaged enough to have joined a trade association or a local chamber of commerce. And we heard some other information that was also interesting, which was they do not think schools are there to prepare students for their workplace. In fact, they've pointed out that we're educating students to be lifelong learners who are going to have to adapt to a workplace and a society that we can't even imagine yet. So what they're really looking for is the ability to apply the knowledge that students have, applied skills, communication, the ability to collaborate and work in teams and solve problems. And they're saying that they want schools to focus on giving students the tools to adapt and to be productive and contributing citizens.
I see in this report even some backlash against at least some of the components of education reform as we've known it, the focus on testing, what you call the treadmill of school.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we heard from employers was that they feel that there's too much time spent testing the wrong things. And so while they are strongly believe there needs to be accountability, they want to make sure that we're testing the right things and that we're teaching essentially beyond the test, that the test is to show that students are meeting the requirements, but we ought to be teaching even beyond. And that's why the transition to the new high-quality assessments aligned with the standards that were implemented 4 years ago are so important. And we're just about to start field testing what's called PARC, the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Career. This is important because this will tell not only employers but also colleges where remediation rates are very high, which is costly to them and to students, whether a student is on track to be ready for college and career.
The remediation problem, we heard about this 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. Is it getting any better, though, or is it just still the same as it has been? That you have all these students getting out of high school, maybe passing the MCAS, and next thing you know, they show up even at a community college and they've got to do more high school work.
Well, I don't know about the trends over time, but just under 40% of students who come to public four-year institutions need to take a remedial rate, and the percentage rises to 60% at community colleges. And what is evident over time is that a student who has to take a remedial course for which they earn no college credit towards their degree or certificate is much less likely to earn that degree or certificate.
And that means, of course, that it's more time, it's more money, which makes education less affordable.
Absolutely.
What also is going on is the different kind of skills that you're looking for. Explain that, especially if you're looking ahead to, 2030?
Well, what we're really saying is that Massachusetts has some unique assets. We have a history of commitment to public education. The first public school was founded here by Horace Mann. We have outstanding institutions of higher education, and we have a burgeoning technology sector. So if we can't figure it out, there's almost no place on the planet that can. And what we believe is there needs to be closer partnerships and communication. We need to look at how we use education technology. We need to look at how we deploy our educator workforce. Are we using them as effectively as we can when we put one adult in a room with 24 or 36 or however many students are in a class? Are there ways to provide more personalized learning where a student moves forward based on their mastery and their competencies? We need to look at our education system overall, not just to see if we're preparing students for the workforce. In fact, employers loudly said it's more important that we prepare them for their future to be productive employees and members of society.
What I also read between the lines is that you seemingly want to have students get more of a direct taste of a workplace is a way to get them more engaged, to maybe think creatively. But you know, finding internships and partnerships, how much of that more can you do?
Well, there actually, we think there could be a lot more done, and that's part of redesigning schools to allow more movement between them. So there are schools where, more like the vocational technical education model, where students spend some time in academics, some time out in the community, whether it's service learning, whether it's work-based learning opportunities, to really see the relevance of what they're studying. And you're absolutely right, that is what engages them, that's what motivates them to do more on the academic side. As a result, we think also students will have exposure to things they think they might be interested in and discover that they're not, or find out things that they didn't even know existed. So this kind of exposure not only motivates them academically, but also helps them save time and money in terms of the direction that they want to go in.
Another piece of the equation is teachers. As it is now, I think they're probably facing more stress, more accountability, sometimes even longer hours. So what do you do to get more quality people to want to be teachers?
Well, I think one of the things that we can take away from all of the information we gathered is that we're operating on an industrial agricultural model that's outdated. Every other industry has really changed dramatically, and yet our schoolhouses still look like they did when I went to school. And so what we need to recognize is you can't get a stagecoach to go to the moon. That's what's stressing teachers. We're asking them to do with outmoded tools something that they were not trained to do or asked to do. We need different kinds of training. We need to have different kinds of models so that it may be that a master teacher teaches a large group and then small groups get together with instructors and some one-on-one tutoring, varied roles for educators, different ways for different career ladders, different opportunities, and compensation that matches other professions in return for a workplace that matches other professions.
You're also looking at the competition from countries around the world, and we always see these comparisons and we say, well, we can't match South Korea or whatever, but how big a deal is that going to be in the future as compared with what it has been until now?
Well, as I said earlier, we have some unique assets here, and we think we can be competitive. But it is true that other countries, Poland, Germany, their change is accelerating faster than us. And we, in our new Opportunity to Lead report, identified not only an achievement gap, but 6 other gaps, one of which that was a surprise to us is the top talent gap, that our top students are not performing at the same level as top students other places. On the recent PISA, our top students were outperformed by all students in Singapore. So we think we can compete. We think that it's important that we do compete, and we believe that we have the tools here in Massachusetts if we're willing to innovate and we're willing to do some things differently and continue to do them differently.
What do you think's behind that outperformance? Because I read these stories about students in some of these other countries, lots more time, lots more ruthless drilling and repetition, going back to school at night. I mean, do we need to do that?
I don't think so, and I don't think that's what we're proposing. The PISA studies applied knowledge, and that gets back to the original item we were talking about on the poll, that we are not teaching our children to apply their knowledge. We're teaching them to essentially regurgitate rote memorization. And that's why the new PARCC exams are so important, because they can provide simulations, they provide interactive problems so that if you're doing well, it might ask you tougher questions. They give real-time data to teachers about where students are struggling and where they've mastered material. And most of all, students have to show how they solved a problem, how they got their answer. And that kind of thing is what is happening in some other countries. And in the report that we issued, we give examples of some of the things that are happening. It's not that we're not doing well. It's just that we could do better. We released the report on Monday, and one of the people who was present said, it's really nice to live in a place where we're doing well, but we're still not satisfied.
Thank you very much for being with us, the Mass Business Alliance for Education.
Thank you very much.
Linda Noonan.